Welcome back to the IBC guys. My name's Dave. I'm joined today by Mr. Mike Stevens, and we
Hey,
are the
Dave.
IBC guys. Hey, we're jumping in today. We're not going to waste any time. Mike and I have been working on our setups. We got all the sound ready. We got all the microphones ready, and we're ready to jump in. But we're going to discuss financial cancer today, which it's something in the IBC world we're regularly familiar with, but I think it's foreign to most people. So the goal today is to talk about what financial cancer is and to kind of maybe examine whether or not you feel as though you have it. And then at the end, we'll give some takeaways and some to-dos, but that's essentially how we're going to spend our time today. So financial cancer, Mike Stevens, what is it? When I say financial cancer, what does that mean?
Well, I think there's a problem in America today where people think they're getting ahead, but they don't realize the cancer in their financial situation or the money that's leaving their family forever. So, as an example, let's take a family that has, let's just say, $100,000 of annual take home income. Okay. So after taxes, if you're a W 2 employee, your family is bringing home $100,000 a year. Let's just use that number because it's easily dividable.
Sure. Nice round number.
Nice round number. Divisible by whatever, what I meant to say.
We got you.
So $100,000 a year. Now let's say that family is they're saving 10%, and the average American is not saving 10%. I think in
Mm.
2022 the average savings was 4.7% or something. But typically people think that, oh, we want to save 10%, and most Americans are putting that money into a qualified plan, into a mutual fund where someone else is managing it, and let's say they're getting a 7% return. And you can argue whether that's before or after dividends. If you're looking at the S&P 500, is it before or after taxes? Let's just say that that number is 7%. Okay.
Can I pause real
And
quick and just make
yeah,
clarification? You mentioned from the onset, people want to get ahead. And to just be implicitly clear, getting ahead to most people is putting money in these qualified plans. Am I correct in that?
yeah, I think so. I think that's what their assumption is. And again, if they're putting in 10% of their income, so again, if we're using the example of $100,000 annual take home, and give them the benefit of the doubt. The average American is not saving 10%, but if they are saving 10%, so that's $10,000 they're saving in a qualified plan, correct?
Well, let me ask
And
this
let's
too.
say that,
Where does that assumption come from? I'm sorry to keep interrupting you, but assumption is what we're taught. I mean, my financial literacy class in high school comes to mind. We did a big thing between a traditional IRA and a Roth IRA. I, that's what I was taught. This is how you quote unquote get ahead. So I just want people to set that up for you
I'm,
to
I'm
hit
surprised
it
you have
home
a
here.
financial literacy class in high
Well, and
school.
that's fair. That's another topic for another time. But I did take it in high school, and we did do those things. And I guess my point is the assumption comes from that's what we were taught. So a lot of people do assume if they're doing these things, they're getting ahead. So I wanted to kind of set that up as you continue your discussion. So I'm done interrupting you, Mike.
No, that's absolutely right, because people do think they're getting ahead by doing this. So, hey, I'm getting ahead. I'm saving 10% of my income. So again, if you're saving 10,000 a year and you have a financial guy or whoever it is, and you're getting a 7% return, that's pretty good. Well, 7% return on that $10,000 is what? 700 bucks. Okay. So you're getting $700 a year coming into your family getting ahead, or what you think is getting ahead. So now the other side, the financial cancer part of this is most people own a home, most people have a mortgage. And let's just say on $100,000 of income, let's say you have a $400,000 mortgage. Okay.
Sure.
That's You can
Yeah.
say, well, I'm above that, I'm below that, or whatever. But if you have a $400,000 mortgage, and let's say 30-year money today is about 6%, your principal and interest, not PITI, but principal and interest is, and I wrote these numbers down so I wouldn't forget, $2,400 a month on
A lot
a
of money.
$400,000 mortgage. Okay. So if you ask that person, hey, what kind of, how much are you paying in interest on your mortgage? They're going to say, well, I'm paying 6%, where it's really not the percent, it's the
Mm,
volume. In,
sure.
in the banking world, they say the rate is the distraction because you're really not paying 6%. As an example, $2,400 a month, you're paying in principal and interest. 70% of that in the first, for sure, 5 years, 70% of that is in interest. So 70% of that $2,400 is $1,680 a month goes to the bank in the form of interest that leaves your household forever. $1,680 times 12 months, that's $20,160. So $20,000 a year, or 20% of your $100,000 take home, is leaving your family forever. It'll never come back. It's going to the bank in the form of interest, but yet Americans think, well, man, I'm killing it. I'm getting 7% in my qualified plan, in my investment, in whatever that is, which is $700 coming into your family a year,
Yeah.
but 20,000 is leaving your family every year in the form of interest. That's just on your mortgage.
I want to
Most
pause
people
you a
have,
second, if I
sure.
can, Mike. I wish people that are listening could see your face and my face. That's heart wrenching to think about it that way. One, it's another reason to get out of the banking system. But two, you take that to your point, getting ahead $700 and compare it to the 20,000 odd some dollars that are leaving your family. That is a dramatic comparison, but it's a sad comparison as well. So I think again, the whole goal in this episode is to bring to light this financial cancer, and that's kind of a niche phrase, but to your point, that $20,000, 20% is not going to any principal. It's sheer interest that the bank is making on this money. And it's sad. So I just kind of want to hit home that point. Maybe it's dramatic of me, I don't know. But for people to start realizing it is really the whole goal and why we're starting this thing. We want people to start understand what is actually going on. And there's a lot of conspiracy theorists out there and that and such, but this is a mortgage is a real life applicable thing that my hope is people can resonate with. So that's a great first example. So again, I just wanted to hit home. So again, sorry to interrupt you, but
No, it's
wanted to make that point.
it's true. It's most people don't realize. I mean, most people don't realize you have cancer until you go in and your doctor or medical
It's a
professional
great
says, "Hey,
point.
we ran some
Yep.
tests," and like, wow, I had no idea. This is the same type of thing as people don't realize. They think they're getting ahead. They think, "Hey, I'm saving.
Yeah.
I'm planning for the future, planning for my kids, planning for retirement, whatever it might be." And you think you're getting ahead, but in reality, you're losing ground. You're bleeding money to the banking system. In this case, again, we just went through, so that's 20% of your income is going to mortgage. Most people, they finance their vehicles, whether it's through a
Sure.
financial institution or through a leasing program, or they're using someone else's money to finance that vehicle, and you use someone else's money, you're going to pay them interest.
Mhm.
So that adds to that 20% that is leaving your family in the form of a mortgage. And now you add on top of that, one or two cars, you got college
Yeah.
tuition,
Student
in the
loans.
form of
Sure.
student loans, you're doing for the kids. You have consumer debt is outrageous in this country right now with credit cards and things like that. So you add all those up, And it may be different. So maybe it's not 34.5% for you and your family, but I think it will shock you if you sit down and go through those numbers and see what's actually leaving your family. So the idea of the IBC concept, or the infinite banking concept, is changing that, is getting that money that's flowing away from you presently, getting that money to flow back to your family. So that's what we do, is we sit down and try to figure out what's exactly happening in your financial situation and how can we change it.
So just to reword that, we kind of went through what financial cancer is. I mean, it's money that you don't know is leaving your family forever, essentially. Um, in various ways, various forms, but it's you think you're getting ahead and you're not quantitatively getting ahead by the numbers. It's not working. And I think what you just did is posed the solution to that. Am I correct? I mean, here is the cure for financial cancer. Is that correct?
Yeah, correct. What we do is we help families, individuals, just kind of set up a system to where we take control of the banking function in your life. So right now, if you have a mortgage and you have loans on vehicles and you have consumer debt and credit cards, et cetera, someone else is in control of that banking function. When you get your weekly, monthly paycheck, it's deposited into someone else's banking system. So the idea is we help families set up their own banking system and start taking control of the banking function in their life.
So by taking control of the banking function, what good does that do me? Can we articulate that a little bit more? In other words, okay, I have my own bank. So what?
Well, there's lots of different benefits to that, in addition to the one that we're talking about now. And that's where interest is flowing away from your family forever. And we want to reverse that and get that interest flowing back into your family. So it'll eliminate that 34.5%. Again, speaking of the average here on the $100,000 of income, that's $30,000 a
Yeah,
year that's leaving your family just
it's a
on
lot of
interest.
money.
We want to stop the bleeding on that. Forget about the $700 you're making on your brother-in-law's, financial investment he's got for you, and blah blah blah. Which again, a
Yeah.
7% return is really good. I mean, that's a good
Yeah.
return. But when you look at it in the scope of what your financial situation is, I mean, it pales in comparison to the money leaving your family. So that's what we want to do, is we help people set up. You can't do it right away, but we help people set up over time and gradually take control of a bigger percentage of that what's leaving your family.
Well, I didn't ask the most poignant question, but you answered it exactly how I thought you would, and it was what I was hoping to get at. Is we want to reverse that flow of interest back to yourself. So maybe another way to think about this too is instead of putting blood back in, we're going to stop the bleed first. So rather than put a minimal $700 back into your financial health, we're going to stop the bleed of what's going out. And IBC is absolutely the best way I know of to make that happen. So to control the banking function, you're not giving up that power to have that interest flow away, have that money flow away from your family. We can reverse it and have it flow back into your family and stay there and grow and. So there's a lot of benefits. And again, I don't want to rabbit trail too much because the goal is financial cancer today. But I kind of wanted to maybe take that in my own words. So thoughts on that? Anything you'd say to add on to that?
No, I think that's good. I think people can sit down and just lay out. I mean, you can look at your financial picture, you can look at your mortgage statements, you can kind of figure out like what's exactly leaving your family every year in the form of interest, and determine for yourself what that percentage is. Maybe it's not 34.5%. Maybe it's only 25%. Maybe it's higher. Maybe it's 40%. But you want to figure out what that is and realize that, again, the rate is the distraction. maybe you got a 4% mortgage, maybe you got a 5.5% mortgage. I mean, 3, 4 years ago, I mean, you could get them all. I've heard some people get 30-year money under 3, but I mean, obviously now, that's changed as higher.
Sure.
But whatever the case is, that's still a huge portion, a huge percentage of your income leaving your family, going to the banks in the form of interest. And we want to, number one, identify that. And then secondly, help you reverse that over time, get that money flowing back to your family.
Man, I think that is so well said. And I think that captures our desire and even doing this podcast and helping people in general with IBC. So yeah, I would echo that. I would encourage people to spend some time reflecting on that. How much is actually going out? High interest credit cards are a great place to start. What's leaving your family that way? And it's never going to come back, and you're just padding the pockets of whomever. But mortgages, cars, all that stuff, how much is leaving your family? And I do think another podcast or another conversation is how IBC stops that bleed. I don't know if we have enough time to go into that. But I'm using it in my life. You're using it in your life. And what it's doing, IBC, is it's capturing, it's having that interest flow back. I really would say both of those. So not only does it not let the interest go out, but it recaptures the interest coming back in, and it keeps the money in our families for as long as we set it up to do so. We're talking again, legacy building wealth. The grandkids of your grandkids will thank you. So jumping back, spend some time reflecting on that. The second thing I would encourage, say you're not even IBC is this crazy idea that you don't even want to deal with. But if you want help seeing how much money's going out of your family, we'd be happy to do that. Again, a goal in starting this is to help other beggars find the bread. We're a couple of beggars helping other beggars find the bread. If it means just helping you find out how much interest is leaving your family, give me a shout, give me a call, shoot me an email. I'm speaking for Mike in this case, but I'm pretty sure he'd be happy to help as well. Let's start there. And then if you decide IBC is not for you, that's great. But it is by far the best mechanism that I know of to keep legacy wealth within your family. Set your kids up for success. You start a policy now, 30 years down the road, instead of just investing and hoping, actually guaranteed where that thing's going to be. So I'm kind of rabbit trailing. I just wanted to make sure people had something they could go and do, reflect on it, think about it, and then give us a shout, give us an email, and we want to help you out. So I think we've covered what we want to cover. Would you agree with that, Mike?
I think so.
All right. Anything else you want to add before we sign off on this episode?
I don't.
All right. Well, I appreciate y'all joining us. We'll look forward to being with you on the next one.